Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, I have a guest who is super special. And one of the ways that she's blessing you, she just signed up to be a speaker at the August Finding Your Confidence Summit and then the October Finding Safety After Trauma Summit. Her name is Devorah Brinckerhoff. She is a mixed media artist and transformational guide with over 30 years of experience, who developed soul portraits in an innovative healing methodology that uses creativity to transform trauma into empowerment. Even though I have a bad cold, I am super excited to host her today because I believe in how creativity empowers and heals trauma survivors. Thank you, Devorah, for being a guest on my show today.
I'm so happy to be here, Karen. Thanks for having me.
So, I did a really down and dirty bio for you. What in your bio or about your work do you want to amplify today? If people are looking, okay, I have limited funds, but I want to work on my healing, why choose you in your work? Let's start there.
The thing that I love about the work that I do is that it turns the spotlight back on the individual, not in a way to force or scare, but in a very gentle way that says, I actually teach people how to find their own answers using creativity as the tool. And no one has to be like, people hear, oh, I'm an artist, I've been painting and drawing my whole life. And they're like, I can't do that. Anyone can do what I teach. And they're just creative tools and techniques that I learned along the way that have nothing to do with how things look, but everything to do with how things feel on the inside of a person. And when we have complex trauma, we have a really hard time meeting those trickier emotions. We're usually really afraid of them. And that drawing a line on a piece of paper becomes a place for you to get that trauma out of your body and onto the page in a really soft, gentle, non-confrontive way without you even knowing about it.
Thank you for that. So, as my audience is complex trauma survivors, and the ages is across our lifespan.
Yep.
Is there a story that you feel comfortable sharing today about your own trauma history?
Yeah.
Don't talk about anything you're not ready to talk about, for
Of
sure.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing again about creativity is that I could meet the charge. So I have a sexual abuse history and it was pre-verbal. And so I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it until I got pregnant with my daughter. But all through, you reached puberty and things got really complicated. And I had all of the normal feelings, but I was terrified of exploring them. And the way that turned out for me when somebody tried to kiss me, I just thought it was terrible. And so my relationships, I thought there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what. And even as a 6-year-old, I thought I had a rotten apple living inside of me, like just dwelling inside of me. And I thought I was going to hell. And I didn't know a lot about hell, for example, but I really believed that I deserved to be there. And so that sense of things being wrong, that sense of not fitting in, that sense of otherness really dictated the choices that I made, the friends I chose and attracted, the relationships that I attracted, the jobs I went for, the lack of worthiness because of sexual abuse that I wasn't aware of really dictated what I did and how I moved through the world. Until I started to put the pieces together, it was very confusing. And so again, creativity acted as a way to release some of that pressure and nudge me towards the truth that lived inside of my body. And so the artwork that I made was constantly giving me clues. If I wasn't ready to know what it was, I just didn't notice it. And so I wasn't confronted with a truth that I wasn't ready for. I was just alleviating some of that toxicity that trauma leaves in the body. So, did that answer your question about my?
It answered my question and it also answered my next question. So you did a really great job because I I don't want guests to come on and just talk about their trauma and not do it in a way that doesn't inspire people to heal. And you did that. You talked a little bit about your trauma and you talked a little bit about how your current work before it was your current work is part of your healing journey. And I think that's huge. What I call it is turning your pain into purpose. What do you think about that phrase, turning pain into purpose?
Absolutely. It's 100% true. And it's become my mission because the prison that complex trauma, but I'll speak directly just to sexual abuse because that's really what I know. It keeps you in a loop where your thinking pattern is so destructive, the critical self-talk, and it just compounds on itself and gets bigger and bigger. But that creativity softened that downward spiral. It slowed it down. And again, I didn't realize what was happening. But then when I did realize what was happening, I could supercharge it. I could add intention and I could start really focusing on how to build confidence, how to build safety, how to quiet the noise in my mind. Because when you're entering a creative space, you're going away, you're out of your thinking mind and entering your heart. And that's where all your power is. And so I teach people how to connect with their intuition and where their answers are for themselves, and that it comes out in the art automatically, which is just a super cool thing. It shows up on the page and you never know what's going to happen. And I try and make things happen. And the line that I do in an exercise that I teach, it won't let me. It's like moving I don't know, you're connecting to something so much bigger than you that knows exactly what you need. And it shows up on the page. And then I teach people how to decipher what has showed up on the page. And those two things together is where your empowerment is, so that you move away from the victim mentality and into standing in your own love and your own power and your own knowingness. And when you confront things that are scary, and survive, you get a lived, felt experience of your courage. And that's something that we do slowly over time in a gentle way so that you're like, wait, I can do this. I'm okay. I have my own back. I can be my best friend. It slows down the external search for a rescuer and teaches you how to rescue yourself, which I just get so excited about. I cannot hear you. It just went
Oh,
off.
I'm so sorry. I
Now I
muted
can.
myself to cough. Um, no, I was going to say it comes out, your enthusiasm for your work comes out in your conversation, and I can only imagine it comes out in the work that you're doing. Can you share a little more about how you work with people? Do you teach classes? Is it group work? Is it just one-on-one work? Can you share a little more so people understand?
Yeah, I am currently putting together a beta group and looking for 8 founding members who want to learn how to do this. It's very small and intimate because this is such profound work. And I want to keep it small. So it is group coaching where we do some exercises together to get comfortable with materials that you have laying around your house. It can be a pencil in your scrap drawer, recycling paper. None of it is fancy. And it's just a way to connect with yourself. And we meet one on one to do the exercises virtually and talk about what it feels like and how to build on those exercises to go deeper. And then towards the end, we meet every week, and then people have the ability to connect with me at any time if they have questions through email or a WhatsApp chat. And then we move into doing a soul portrait together because where you're using your own materials and you let the materials of your life tell your story for you. So you don't have to find the words, but you're witnessing yourself all the time. And your body knows it, right? Now this person is safe to meet this thing that has rested inside of me unseen, unspoken for decades, right? And our body is just waiting for us to recognize our own power. And so that's what I do. I really support people through the process of collecting their materials and knowing how to and following their intuition and what's really keeping them in the prison of unworthiness that or relationships that are falling apart or eroding so that we can start moving into the root system so that we can really change how we see the world because perspective is everything.
It is. I also teach a lot about perspective and work I do on analyzing the way you think about things.
Yep.
So, yeah, I love that.
And
Okay, so
agent.
for those who are very curious about your program, please make sure you get the link to me so I can put it in the show notes and make sure people that sign up for the summit know about it. But can you share a bit about, I know this is a concrete question, but it first thing popped in my mind, and I like to go with my intuition. Can you share a little bit about what would their expenses be in terms of supplies? Do they need fancy watercolors, like a pen, like
No.
special pencils? Share a little more about that.
Yeah, it really depends on what you like to use, but you can use a number 2 pencil that you get at the dollar store. You can use a pack of crayons that I don't know where you go to get those things. None of it is expensive. And I actually like the mixed media aspect of it. So if you're even rifling through your recycling bin and you want to pull out even a paper receipt, 8.5 by 11 that the pharmacy gave you, and you're struggling with a medication that you're on, or you're wondering about your relationship to pharmaceuticals, that can be the backdrop. You can use a piece of cardboard. It does this, none of the supplies matter because it's about the process. And the process is the vehicle that has us connect to that deeper part of ourselves, that deeper wisdom, that knowing that we lost touch with because of trauma. And that reconnection, that remembering of who we are beneath the trauma is what counts. And it's just, so the materials don't matter. I have Sharpies, I have acrylic markers if I want them, but you can just use a ballpoint pen and a stone you pick up from the outside and a recycled piece of paper from your garbage or recycling bin and use that. And let the layers of what you chose allow you to know even more about yourself because every mark you make, every stone you pick up, even if you choose a nickel to move around or a marble, that's really challenging. But so you're using these other objects as a way to discover yourself. And so the objects don't matter and they can be free. So, or close to it with a pencil you pick up at the bank, for example, or a pen or whatever. It doesn't matter at all.
I love this more than you can know. I have a journaling club called Right to Rise. I have a business, it's like a little side project. I have a business partner, Tammy, we do it together. And the second Saturday of every month in the journaling club, we do art journaling, and I call it art junk journaling because you can bring in any media
Yeah.
and just decorate your page however you want. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be pretty. In fact, I encourage people not to be pretty about it. It's a place to practice imperfection.
Exactly. I talk about that all the time. And the feelings that we have associated with trauma are truly ugly, right? The feelings, but they're not unacceptable, they're acceptable.
Oh,
So
I love
I
that.
love encouraging people to draw what they think of as ugly because that's where our beauty resides
Mhm.
within that. So yeah, I love it. And I love what people bring because it speaks to something deeper inside of them. There's meaning everywhere.
And I love that so much. Okay. Can you say more about how being creative in art is regulating?
Yeah, for sure. I had no idea how much it was helping me until I put the pieces together and recognized in hindsight that every time I sat down to draw, I was focusing my attention on a task at hand. And when you do that, your breathing slows down, your nervous system regulates, and everything has a chance to breathe. And for me, actual breathing was very unsafe. So when people are like, go breathe and calm yourself down, I would do the opposite because any sort of audible sound of actual breathing was very dangerous. And meditation was dangerous because I'd get into looping in my head.
Yep.
So creativity acted as a way for me to pay less attention to breathing and less attention to the crippling thoughts that were going on and just meet my emotions without even feeling them, right? It's important because I became the witness. And so when feelings came up, I wasn't anticipating them, so I could witness them more easily. And then they just need 90 seconds. They need 90 seconds of our loving attention to say, I see you. I feel you. I don't have to merge with you. The feeling becomes a line on a page. So it's something we can literally witness. And we take the invisible that exists inside of us. And like sexual abuse, it's unspoken, it's unseen. And we make it visible and we make it safe to acknowledge without ever having to speak a word of it, but your body knows it. And so you start having this symbiotic relationship with safety, with witnessing, with self sourcing, all by making a line, an abstract line that you're not trying to make, it's allowing it. So it's there, you're practicing so many little aspects of yourself that end up just offering this feeling of relief. You, again, that's just the feeling of relief, the feeling of groundedness, the feeling of slowing down, and breathing happens naturally without us paying attention to it.
Thank you. And so we talked before the podcast today that this is why the October Summit, finding safety after trauma, part of safety is that emotional safety, like truly believing when you are in the comfort of your home that you're safe. I believe your work really helps people regulate and do that.
Yeah.
But can you say something about confidence, like the finding confidence after trauma summit? How does creativity help with that? Can you say a bit about that?
Yeah, because again, you're turning from the external to the internal. And when we've got a trauma history, especially complex trauma, we're not used to trusting ourselves. We're not used to looking inward to make decisions. So I make it really simple. I'm giving you three choices for what object to move around the page. When you make your choice, that's you consulting yourself. Every time you consult yourself and have awareness that you're doing it, you're building confidence. You're saying, oh, I just made a choice. Even when you go and pick out the coffee cup or whatever cup you're going to use, you consulted yourself. But there was a time in my life when I was like, I'm scared to pick a coffee cup, or I don't know which pen to use, and maybe I'll get it wrong. Maybe that's somebody else's cup. Maybe I'll upset them. The level of hypervigilance that comes when we have trauma is so extreme. And so when it comes to building confidence, it's recognizing that you're allowed to make choices, that there isn't a wrong choice. If you choose a stone versus a quarter, a blue marker or blue crayon instead of a red one or yellow one, there's no wrong choice. But you've made the decision and you're capable of making that decision. And it's safe in this moment for this project, for this experience to be in charge of those choices. And when you are, you're building confidence. You're building self-connection, which also builds confidence. And when you're a little frayed between the yellow or the red crayon, and you're feeling that fear of maybe getting it wrong, and you do it anyhow, that builds confidence. And you realize that it didn't matter what color you chose, and it didn't matter what tool you chose in that moment, right? In other moments, it really may matter. But if you're used to looking towards others for your answers, it's hard to feel confident about knowing what's best for you. And so creativity in really small, very safe examples turns it back on you to say, actually, I can do this. I can build confidence in this really gentle, safe way.
So beautiful. How can people, so we're wrapping up now, how can people best find you?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook and actually TikTok, and I go live every day to talk about how creativity helps. And I walk people through really simple exercises that help restore that sense of confidence and sense of safety and remembering who we are underneath the traumatic experience we've had, so that we have the power, right? It's really about empowering people. So anybody can reach me through Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, actually. And my website is soulportrait.art. They can
And
message.
your handles for the other social media, is it Soul Portrait as well?
Yeah. And my name, Devorah Brinckerhoff. Thanks for asking that. It's Devorah Brinckerhoff or Soul Portrait. Yeah. So you can find me either way.
Okay. And we'll also have it in the, what is it called? Show notes. Thank you so much for being such an amazing guest on my show today.
My pleasure, Karen. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.